Welcome to another episode of The Takeaway. In this one, we're going to be talking about a massive story that's going on right now. Not saying whether it's true or false. It involves the Wayfair, human trafficking, that whole situation. We got a couple of key takeaways here to discuss. And then we're also going to be talking about the NBA bubble. We have a very interesting story to share with you guys as it relates to that whole story. I know if people don't know, basically the NBA is going to be played in a bubble in Orlando, Florida for the remainder of the season.
Inside Disney World.
That's it, that's all. So we'll get into more details on that. But as always, got Ruby here, got Arjun. We're going to get into it. Let's start with the Wayfair. This is an interesting one because Arjun, you said you haven't seen it too much.
You haven't heard much about it except for what Ruby's told me so far. But
yeah, and I know you've been seeing it a lot, and I was kind of like sort of looking at it, but not too much. And then I kind of did a bit of a deep dive on it, and then it's interesting. So essentially, the main premise is that images of utility cabinets, industrial grade utility cabinets, were showing up on Wayfair. We were on Wayfair, and they would have like a female's name prior to the explanation of the utility cabinet. Right. So in some cases you had things like Nuria, Yaritza. There was a couple of others.
Like Annabelle.
Aziria, Annabelle, like all these different little things, and so. And it's just literally, and you can see it in the picture there. It's just a utility cabinet. It's just like an industrial grade utility cabinet.
And there's not extra pictures. It's just literally the front aspect. They don't show you the inside. They don't show you any details. No specs.
And these things all range from around $11,000 US to about $15,000, $16,000 US. And so people are looking at this and they're going, well, this doesn't really make sense because these things shouldn't be this expensive, right? So a couple of things as we get into it. What started to happen is people started to say, well, are people buying the children, right? Is that what this is about? And I know you looked into, Ruby, some stuff with how people sort of figured out or at least tried to propose the idea that it was related to children. So what did you find on that?
Okay, so the way that it works is there's a product on the site, which is the utility cabinet, which we'll start off with because there are other items that also started to get speculation like pillows and stuff. But basically the way that it was working was people started to search both the missing children database, which I will note that there are 800,000 children in the US that are reported missing every single year. So obviously with a name matching one of 800,000 is very plausible. But what happened was people were searching missing children based off of the name of the cabinets, and they would come up within missing between last week to the beginning of this year. So between January and now, there are children within those names that are missing. And so they did that, but then also the way that it was working was within the product, you have a SKU number, which is like the product number that you can then input into Google, find other products. First thing to note was they were able to find the same exact UFX utility cabinet sold on Home Depot, Walmart, Amazon, all these different places, but they're not hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Well, $14,000.
They're normal price cabinets, and it's exactly the same product, same specs, same dimensions, everything. So people started to say, okay, what's going on? So within the SKU, you find the product, but then also if you're looking at this one thing called Yandex, which is a Russian Google, basically. You can put SRC, which is a source code for products, but also put SRC USA and then the SKU number. You would then find pictures of not the cabinet, but now younger girls dressed promiscuously. So then they started putting two together. So this really just started with somebody on Reddit speculating, but then people dove deeper and they ended up finding a lot more, I would say, evidence or
strange things
that could be coincidentally but matching to this. But it's also, for me, when I see stuff like this, I want to dive deeper as opposed to just like, oh no, it's a conspiracy, because I'll just note right now, Wayfair has come out as of today saying, oh no, we just took it down because there was not enough dimensions, there was not enough photos to demonstrate why this is the cost or price range for this. So that's their kind of excuse. Oh no, this actually cost this much, but then why is it being sold for hundreds somewhere else and 10,000s over here?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you look this up, and it's all Wayfair. They contact Wayfair. They'll ask, "Is this happening?" Wayfair obviously says it might not be happening, but say it is. Obviously, they just say no.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, mainstream media, conspiracy theory. They link it with Pizzagate, conspiracy theory. Yeah. I mean, there's so much
news.
False news. Yeah. As far as Pizzagate goes, like, that's a completely different topic. But there's so much crazy things with regards to Pizzagate.
Yeah, they're calling this Wayfair Gate.
Yeah.
Well, I look at it in both this case and Pizzagate. It's like and this is kind of where it gets into like the oddities of going through this work, because it's like there's evidence where it's like, wow, there's some really, really strong evidence there, and that requires explanations, and
Yes.
that if that was happening to a regular old citizen, there would be immediate police investigation. But with this kind of stuff, it's just kind of like, oh no, it's a conspiracy theory, and they just kind of leave it alone. And I mean, this, I started to look and like, is this legit, right? Because
Right.
the internet's, as much as people sometimes don't want to admit it in the open-minded world, the internet is full of a lot of fake stuff, right?
Right.
And so when I saw this and I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, well, is there anything legit? How would I think about researching this? So I kind of went through, right? And I started to look at the whole idea of like, okay, so the WFX utility, the brand that makes it's a Wayfair brand, right? So this is and Wayfair says it themselves. I think I still have it here. They actually say that this is it's a utilitarian grade brand, meaning they're providing products to consumers that can afford to buy it. The most expensive item that they have on their whole thing is a really complex utility storage unit that has all these drawers and moving. It's 8 pieces, right, that you would put in your garage, and it's $3,000. So, and it's beautiful and it looks very nice. So you're looking at it, you're like, well, that's $3,000 made of metal, nice wood bench, all this sort of stuff, 8 different pieces, huge storage cabinets, all these different things, drawers, $3,000. And then everything else is priced below that, and it's all storage cabinets and stuff. They have nothing anywhere close to even $5,000 or $7,000 or $8,000.
Especially not like a blocky, boring,
Right.
simple.
And so I'm looking at this, and then I started to think to myself, okay, well, maybe they are providing an extremely limited line of products to an industrial type consumer,
Commercialized.
right?
Right.
So I'm like, well, what are the cost of industrial stuff on other sites? So I started looking at all these different sites. I went to a lot of major distributors of industrial cabinets and so forth. And the vast majority of stuff that you can find comes nowhere close to $10,000. I finally, just before we got on here, found one type of storage unit that's made solely of stainless steel. It's a really stronghold unit, like insanely strong. Lots of shelving, very big units, smaller or roughly the same size as some of the other ones. But it's $9,000, but it's the only product that exists on the entire website.
And it's nothing
Everything
like
else,
the one Wayfair.
especially ones that look like the products that Wayfair are selling, are in the range of anywhere between $1,000 and maybe $3,000, right? Because you got to think about it even from a practicality perspective. Who's buying these products? Like, I've worked in different businesses, I've engaged with different mechanics, all these different things before, and you look at what they have, and most of their utility stuff is like, oh yeah, you have this utility thing, and you have like 40 of them. If you were to have 40 of them at $14,000 a pop, no business would really be able to afford that unless they were,
It's
getting
highly
extreme,
questionable.
right?
It's,
So from a basic look at it, I'm like, the utility cabinets are kind of, this is weird. This is very weird. Not to mention the fact that no utility cabinet on the entire market has a female's name prior to the explanation of
and
what
then
it
you
is.
look up the name and SKU and type that in, and then pictures it, like you said.
It's
goes
odd,
in.
right?
It's just odd. Yeah.
And so the last thing I kind of want to say as we sort of dive into this part is and I want to bring up something that I have a question for both you guys, but let me throw down on this. Lead Stories, right? So this is a fact checker, right? We've dealt with Lead Stories before. They came out and they said, look, fact check. Wayfair is not selling human trafficked children on their website with very expensive cabinets. And they say this like, it's a fact. It's not happening. Now, I want to be clear. We're not sitting here saying that it is happening. We're saying that you got to do the research and you got to ask the right questions.
You don't just ask Wayfair and they say, no,
Right.
it's not, and I believe it.
And the people who come across this stuff when it hits their mainstream don't already have a background into
Right.
child sex trafficking. Like, the amount we're into it, it's kind of like, this is actually a possibility given
Absolutely.
what we already know.
For sure. So these guys, the claim is that a Reddit user claimed that overpriced cabinets with female names were a cover for human trafficking, and the company was actually selling kidnapped children. Wayfair has denied the connection to Lead Stories, stating there is no truth to these claims and that the industrial grade cabinets are accurately priced. And so what Lead Stories did here as fact checkers, and this is a very important thing to recognize because this just happened to us again with fact checkers, is what they do is you have a team of like 3, maybe 4 fact checkers who they're going out there and they're investigating like hundreds of stories a day. So are they thorough on any of the stories that they're fact checking? Absolutely not. There is no thorough research done in fact checking. What they do is they go, maybe we can contact the company, maybe we can contact the source. Whatever that company or source gives them in terms of a response is what they use as the fact check.
It's not like there's an investigation that ensues and it's an actual real fact checking
Exactly.
operation.
And like we see with the vaccine research all the time, it's like we'll debunk a vaccine study and then the fact checker will go to the study and say, no, but the study says this. It's like, no. We're debunking the study that you're now using as a source to say that we're wrong. Like, like these are the classic things they do. Oh, mainstream media said this, therefore you're wrong, right? And so this is the thing. And if you actually look through, and this is the one thing I wanted to kind of point to with regards to something that like kind of was like, what was this fact checker thinking? Right? So if you look at these images, so if you scroll through here, they're debunking.
And we'll have to put them on the actual.
Yeah, they're debunking, and then they get to a point where he's talking about how if you put up the Yandex search that you were talking about when you get into this whole thing, he's like, it just shows images of kids. It's not a big deal. This is not pornography, and it's not a specific girl. But if you look at these images of kids, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, the whole top row is very scandalous. Like these girls are all, I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe 8 and under. They're laying and they're sitting in positions, legs open, doing these things. And I'm like, how did you not look at this and think, this is a little bit weird? Like if you were to type in kids, children, 6-year-old, whatever, on Google, on anything, you get them playing in the sand in a sandbox. You get them you don't get pictures like this. So they got this big picture slapped here on the fact check, and I'm almost like, guys, this is a dead giveaway that like there's something weird. Like these pictures are a little bit weird. I'm not saying it's like, oh my God, it's a dead giveaway that there's human trafficking going on. I'm saying this is worthy of investigation, and that's my big takeaway here is that when I looked into this, to me, this is we don't know all the facts. Yes, there may be some things that aren't true, but there's something weird here.
Yeah, and it's human trafficking is just like drug smuggling. You gotta do it in covert ways like this, you know.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say it's not just the cabinets either. I know a lot of people are just debunking that, but there's like a $10,000 pillow that's sold by Ellen DeGeneres, who was on Epstein's Lolita Express list. Like that's the why people.
And it had another name in front of it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like the reason why people, once they started diving deeper, started to really speculate and this went viral was because not only is it cabinets, now it's pillows, shower curtains that are $10,000 that are like probably $5.
Yeah, it's just a zodiac sign printed on a pillow, right?
And they have the same exact shower curtain that's $9.99, and then they have a $10,000 one right underneath it with the girl's name, and it's like sold by. Anyways, so once you start connecting all the dots, you put it all together, you're like, there could be something here, as opposed to, oh yeah, no, that shower curtain's supposed to be $10,000. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, brush it under the rug.
I think it's more of an educated guess to think that something's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as if you're like, my parents know nothing about this, if I go to my dad and tell him about this, he would probably
think it's crazy.
Yeah, he would no doubt not even entertain it. That's how easy it is for these people to just simply label something as a conspiracy theory, put it out in a mainstream media outlet that we own. Problem solved.
Well, here's where I want to go with this, because this is the last thing I kind of want to ask, because I know we see this a lot, and there's this discussion of a slippery slope when it comes to research in this, because like obviously we've interviewed a number of survivors when it comes to child sex trafficking, especially on the elite level. So we're talking politicians, we're talking celebrities, we're talking big name people. We've interviewed survivors, we've heard their stories, we've heard their testimony, and so we've kind of been privy to how real this stuff is, what goes on, right? If you believe the survivors, if you believe their testimony, and a lot of that is on CETV if you want to watch that, but there's this other side to it where in the, we'll say, conspiracy community, for lack of a better term, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of claims that are made. It's like, oh, I see one little thing and I create a meme about it and I put it out all over the internet, and it's like, and really it's not true at all. And in a sense, it undermines like the truth of what is actually going on with some of this pedophile stuff. And I find there's this slippery slope of, I see now, on Facebook, like Wayfair, there's like a post, hey, we're selling patio furniture, and there's all these people just talking about how they're trafficking
Right.
children. So now they're doxing the CEO, they're doxing all the employees and the
What's
workers,
doxing
and
mean?
like putting their information online
Oh,
so
I
that
see.
people can contact them or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so it becomes a slippery slope of like when these events do happen and the public responds, but they don't respond necessarily from a well-researched,
Yeah.
a grounded perspective, and they start doing things like going after and they just ravaging these CEOs. What happens? The company can then turn around and say, see what happens when fake news spreads around the
Exactly.
internet?
And then more security measures come
That's
on
right.
the internet and more justification for label things as false and shutting down organizations
Right.
like ours.
And this is why I say it's
Wow.
like it's so incredibly important as this community. Every meme you share, every article you share, research it.
Right.
Look at what it is actually saying. Don't just share it, because
Yeah.
when you share it, and we've seen this, time and time again, we get thrown in. We are a high quality, high research publication that gets thrown into the junk
Yeah.
of all the stuff on the internet that sounds similar to the stuff we do.
Yeah.
So instead of people having this beautiful grounded approach to looking at this information, having high quality stuff, looking at the facts, only reporting on stuff when there's good evidence, instead we report on, hey, this is a fact because I saw there was they missed a letter in this thing. This
Yeah.
letter means this, and therefore
It's just like when 5G came out, like
Yeah.
everyone was like, "Oh, 5G, it's the virus, this and that." There's more than enough information out there to show you that 5G is dangerous. You don't need to
Right.
tie in the virus when there's, who knows, maybe that's true, but there's no evidence.
Right.
So don't give the fact checkers that opportunity to just jump on you like that. Like,
creates a
there's
culture.
more than enough info out there on child trafficking and enough of different subjects that we cover to clearly show that certain things are real. And it's okay to speculate.
Yeah.
But use real sources. Use that kind of thing.
Do real research.
Yeah. Be careful what you share.
I
And-
just want to know one more thing before we move on to the next topic, just so it becomes a little bit clear. Wayfair was also involved with ICE in 2018.
Yeah.
Wayfair's employees actually protested because they were selling. They partnered up with ICE and sold beds supposedly to the immigrant children who are
Yeah.
now in cages, which is a big deal right now. So if you kind of just start to put two and two together and know that ICE is missing like 2,000 plus children.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it kind of just makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to
but-
mention there's no beds. Is there not?
no, there's no
Yeah.
bed. The
in
children are
those
sitting on the
cages.
floor in cages. So
Right.
where are the beds that you supposedly supplied, and what is this partnership actually about?
Maybe
right?
there is beds.
Yeah,
I haven't actually
yeah.
looked it
well,
up.
I've,
but-
I've seen a lot of photos, and a lot of the cages do not have beds.
Right.
There's beds in in the actual detention centers where they're first admitted, but once they're actually put in cages, there's no beds. They're sleeping on
Right.
floors with those silver wraps or whatever, right?
Right.
So I don't know. I think just doing a little bit of research, you can find that employees have been talking about this and speaking out on all of this. So I don't know. I just think that it's important to note that yes, we are still speculating because there is no fine proof.
Yeah.
But there
that's
are
okay.
there are some details that make you kind of question.
Yeah, this is very much a takeaway here. Is this is very much a working hypothesis.
Yeah.
It's not clear yet what exactly is
But bringing
going
some
on.
facts.
And sometimes I feel like when they label things a conspiracy theory, like
is to
they're-
like make it
they're-
seem.
yeah, it's like child sex trafficking is a real thing. Why aren't we
Absolutely.
talking about that? Why aren't we investigating it? Why are we
Sure.
simply,
Well, that's how it started. A child sex trafficking worker, so one that helps to, find and shut down, is the one who saw it
Yeah.
and actually posted on Reddit. Hey guys, I'm investigating this as
was
a,
it Annika?
No,
No, okay.
as a person who does this work, does this seem weird to anybody else?
And
That's
then
how it
it's-
started, right? So that's it. That's all on that topic.